It was supposed to be a quiet evening. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. But in a single moment, a father stepped into something he wasn't prepared to see. Something that made him question everything about the son he thought he knew and the family he believed was safe. No one outside that home could have guessed what was about to unfold. No one knew the hidden tension, the unspoken fears, or the truth that had been building beneath the surface for years. What exactly did this father see? What pushed him past the point of return? And how did a private family conflict turn into a case that still raises more questions than answers? Tonight, we carefully unravel a story where one discovery changed everything forever. Welcome to the Dark Case File TV, the home of dark mysteries, unsolved crimes, and chilling stories from around the world. Here, we uncover the cases that shock, haunt, and remain unanswered, even decades later. If you're fascinated by true crime and cold cases, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive investigation. Some stories feel impossible until they happen. Families that look perfect from the outside, homes that seem calm. Yet behind those walls, silence hides secrets. Secrets that slowly build tension, heartbreak, and tragedy, until one moment changes everything. Tonight, we're going to explore one such story. A father, a mother, and a son whose lives were shattered in a single, devastating instant. And I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in the father's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments as we go along. Before the tragedy, this family seemed ordinary. A hardworking father, a gentle mother, and a son full of curiosity and laughter. Neighbors described them as quiet, respectful, and close-knit. Their home had warmth, shared meals, and small moments of joy that made it feel alive. But over the years, subtle cracks began to form. Arguments grew louder, silences stretched longer, and tension built quietly, like smoke before a fire. Can you imagine living in a home where the air always feels heavy, even when nothing is openly said? The father adored his wife. He trusted his son. But even love can't always prevent heartbreak. The mother, who tried to hold the family together, often carried burdens silently. She hid her fear from friends, neighbors, and sometimes even the father because she wanted to protect the family, or perhaps feared what would happen if the truth came out. Have you ever felt like protecting someone meant hiding the truth? What would you do in a situation like that? The son, once bright and playful, began showing signs of emotional change. Teachers noticed anger, withdrawal, and mood swings. Neighbors sometimes overheard shouting or arguments late at night. The mother began worrying silently, feeling helpless. Every parent knows that feeling, that sense when something is off but you can't fully grasp it. What signs do you think we often miss in our own tension was building like a storm cloud. Arguments between mother and son became more frequent and heated, though still subtle to outsiders. The father, often working long hours, noticed but assumed it was normal teenage behavior. Anger, frustration, growing pains. But growing pains don't usually end in heartbreak. Over time, these cracks deepened. Could the tragedy have been avoided if someone had intervened sooner? The mother tried to communicate with her son, reasoning with him, setting boundaries, offering guidance, and showing care. But the son's frustration, anger, and confusion were bottled inside, unchecked. Many families experience conflict, but how often do we stop and ask ourselves, could this escalate into something unthinkable if left unresolved? And then came the day that would change everything. The father returned home earlier than usual. At first, nothing seemed wrong. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. He called out for his wife. No answer. His heart began to race. Something felt off. Then, down the hallway, he noticed a partially open door. He pushed it gently, and in that moment, everything changed. What he saw was beyond anything he could have imagined. Years of worry, tension, and silent suffering erupted into shock, disbelief, and rage. Imagine walking into a situation you are completely unprepared for. A scene that no parent should ever witness. What would you do if you were in that father's shoes? Would you freeze? Would you act instinctively? Or would you search for another way to intervene? The father's reaction was immediate. Witnesses later described him as silent, almost frozen at first, then overwhelmed by emotion. Every parent watching this story might ask themselves, could I have controlled my anger in such a situation? Could I have prevented tragedy? These are questions that haunt families long after the house fell silent again. But this time, it was heavy, suffocating. The mother was traumatized, struggling to process what had happened. The father was taken into custody without resistance, filled with sorrow and disbelief. The son, gone from their lives, leaving unanswered questions and broken hearts behind. What would you feel if you were the mother, the father, or even a neighbor witnessing this aftermath? The community was stunned. How could a family that appeared normal from the outside experience something so devastating? How often do we ignore warning signs in our neighbors, friends, or even ourselves? Could tragedy have been prevented? Let me know what you think in the comments. Investigators pieced together the story. They learned about years of hidden tension, the son's growing behavioral issues, and the mother's quiet fear. They discovered that the father's actions were not premeditated, but a reaction to emotional trauma, the culmination of years of worry and stress. It's a tragic reminder that human emotions can push people to actions they never imagined possible. This raises deeper questions. How can families notice silent cries for help? How can we prevent emotional breakdowns before they escalate? And how often do we ignore signs because we think it's none of our business or too small to matter? All families experience conflict at some point, but sometimes failing to act can have irreversible consequences. In this case, tragedy was years in the making, a storm building quietly until it could no longer be contained. When the case reached court, emotions ran high. The prosecution emphasized the severity of the father's actions. The defense highlighted emotional trauma, stress, and instinctive reaction. The mother delivered her testimony, describing the son, both good and bad. And the father, the man who loved her enough to break in the face of betrayal. She said, I lost my son before that day, and I just didn't ask for help. Imagine carrying that weight, the grief, guilt, and heartbreak. How do you cope when the people you love are gone, and your silence contributed to the situation? The court acknowledged the father's emotional state, but a judgment was delivered. The father accepted it quietly, full of sorrow. The mother, left alone, faced a life forever changed and memories that could never be erased. This story has no winners, only lessons and reminders of how fragile families can be. This story is a reminder that families don't break in a single moment. They fracture slowly, quietly, painfully, until one moment shatters everything. Silence, hidden fear, and unspoken emotions can all build into a storm nobody sees coming. So, I want to hear from you. Could this have been prevented? Would you have acted differently if you were the father? How would you have supported the mother or son before things escalated? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know your perspective. Stories like these are difficult to process, but they are a reminder to check in on the people you love, to notice signs of hidden struggle, and to never underestimate the impact of silence in a family. Take a moment today to reach out to someone who may need you. Sometimes, a single conversation can prevent a lifetime of regret. If this story resonated with you, or made you reflect on your own family and friends, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Stories that explore human emotion, psychology, and tragedies that can hide behind closed doors. Sharing, liking, and subscribing helps keep these stories alive and encourages discussion, reflection, and awareness. Thank you for watching and reflecting on this story with me. Remember, check on the people around you, notice the signs of hidden struggles, and never underestimate the power of silence. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. And I want to hear from you again. How would you have reacted if you were in this father's position? Could silence have been broken earlier? Share your thoughts below.